Shall we talk about gaming headsets?
Oh yes, we can talk about gaming headsets.
Wait, what were you happy
I'm
about?
looking at the gaming headsets. I didn't really study the gaming headset before, so now I'm amazed.
So this is the Varjo Aero, the high-end VR headset, which gets a brain interface. You can see it
Yeah,
here. These little doodads that look like they're used to tenderize meat. Um,
they look very scary.
they will not drill into your brain. Don't worry.
They look like they will, but
Or will they? Um, but they're basically dry electrodes that will attach or poke your skull and in
scalp.
doing scalp, yes.
Yes.
Um, and record the electrical signals from your brain. So they show a demonstration here of new opportunities would arise to capture users' experiences and cognitive states. These include mood states such as fear, joy, or attention.
Oh, so cool. So
So yeah, you can see the signals here and the frequency. And we know from, centuries of research that there is some information you can glean from these signals.
yeah.
So there have been paralyzed people able to, remotely control an arm or, like Stephen Hawking, he had a system like this to dictate text.
Yeah.
Um, Theoretically, you can use it to like move a cursor around or, do all sorts of things if you can read it out. The readout is difficult because these signals are very noisy, especially if you have dry electrodes. I don't know personally um, how comfortable it would be to have like these things prodding into your head all
Yeah,
the
that's a
time.
good question.
Yeah, they don't look very comfortable. But
Uh, Wait, can I tell you that I have used something like this?
sure, please.
Because so in my masters we had a course on brain-computer interfaces, and we had like these simple EEG things, and it was also dry. I think we didn't use any gel, so it was just like a strap. It's like the cheapest way you can measure these brain signals. And we, with my fellow master student, we managed to have each other like pedal on some pedals, like bicycle pedals, and then we could figure out how fast we were pedaling by measuring these signals from this little head thing we had on our head. But I don't know if it was any muscular signals also coming or it was only brain states or but we could kind of like see when we were going faster and slower. And it was very fun to do to try to read out these signals and try to get some information out of it. But like you said, Matthias, it's very messy. Like you just have to train the system to get anything out of this messy system that you can't really rely on the raw data. So yeah.
You do raise a very interesting point. And I've seen this come up during sleep research because sleep researchers love putting EEGs on people.
Oh yes,
Probably because
that's the thing they
you
do, huh?
can't really make somebody fall asleep in an fMRI machine. Well, people have done that, but it's more
Yeah.
difficult, more expensive. But it's very relatively easy to put like a cap over somebody's head and then tell them go to sleep and then measure the EEG. So you can measure kind of what's happening in your brain as people fall asleep. That's how we, start to understand things like REM sleep. REM, of course, stands for rapid eye movement. And one critique I'm seeing quite often is, did you actually measure the brain or did you measure the electrical signals going to the muscles controlling your eyes? Because those signals tend to be way bigger than the signals from your brain. You have very strong electrical signals controlling your muscles and then very weak signals controlling your brain or happening in your brain. If you're wearing a VR headset, you're moving your eyes around, you're moving your head around, you're maybe wiggling your ears. I would wiggle them if, my headset's in the way. These signals are quite large and it's I don't know how well they would be able to discern between these.
Yeah. I don't know, but they can test like in this kind of application where you don't want to do research on the signals. You can just test if a headset with the sensors, if you can get useful information out of it and use it in your game, or if it's better to just run the game with the headset without these sensors, and then you have your answer. I mean, it doesn't really matter where the signal comes from. If it enhances the game experience, you keep it, and if it doesn't, you take it out. I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
there's an interesting quote here that I just want to highlight. Valve predicts right access to the brain.
Yeah,
This
this
is
is strange.
quite similar to what Elon Musk has been banging on about with Neuralink. Valve also already invested in OpenBCI to advance research on brain interfaces. Company CEO Gabe Newell even spoke of BCIs gaining right access to the brain in the foreseeable future. Theoretically, this is sort of possible. It's not like you can project an image into someone's brain. That's way beyond what we can do right now. At least with external electrodes. If you implant them, it's a different story. But what you can do is induce magnetic fields that alter your brain state. Um,
Wait,
People have done that.
I have to tell more stories.
Please.
Yeah. So you said it was maybe uncomfortable to have these things poking into your head, and it might be with this kind of headset because they have to kind of poke through your hair to make good contact with your scalp.
Not so
So
much a problem for me, but for you, yes.
yeah, for me, if you have actual thick hair, it's gonna be like not working or too tight. So I don't remember the thing that we did with the cycling. I don't remember that being uncomfortable because it was quite simple bands and they didn't have to be super tight and it was okay. But I remember doing a real EEG experiment with a language researcher. And then I got very uncomfortable because you have to do this long experiment and you have this like super tight EEG cap on your head with actual electrodes. And this is like that got very uncomfortable after a while. And I also heard, I never did that. I also heard that the magnetic stimulation of the brain, it can also be very uncomfortable because you're like kind of sending shocks through the brain. So this can actually hurt. So I don't
I
know how
so
they
I,
want
I've done
to.
I've done that once.
You've
There
done that?
was a lab at my institute doing this, but they had like this sort of magnetic coil. It's like
Yeah.
like a plastic paddle with a hole in the center. You put it on someone's brain, and then you zap it. Well, it's not electricity going through the brain; it's a
I
magnetic
know
field.
that is not electricity. It's a magnetic field that's supposed to, but electricity goes through the coil. And I've heard people complain about this that it actually
Okay,
hurt. So
it didn't hurt me, but
okay.
it's mostly just weird because your arm moves. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it will make gamers happy. These things, like they could just be uncomfortable more than helpful.
yeah, and the thing is, we already have very adequate output methods to read out what the brain is thinking. They're called fingers.
Figures and speech even. If
Speech.
yeah,
I remember 20
more
years ago,
useful.
speech was the next best thing in games. How the time flies. Shall we go on?
Yes, let's go on.